All right, let's dive into one of Franz Kafka's most haunting and, honestly, weirdest stories, A Hunger Artist. This is a deep look at art, alienation, and what happens when the world just stops caring. So Kafka just drops us right in at the end. The very first line tells us we're looking back at something that's already dead and gone. It's like the story starts with its own eulogy, you know? It just casts this melancholy shadow over everything we're about to hear. But it wasn't always this way. See, there was a time, a golden era, when the hunger artist was basically a rock star, and his little cage was the center of the entire universe. I mean, can you even picture it? A whole city completely obsessed with watching a man not eat? That's it. The crowds just got bigger every single day. This wasn't some strange little sideshow. This was the main event that everybody had to see. And this was a full-on production. I'm talking people buying subscription tickets just to watch him. They'd have these dramatic, torchlit viewings at night for extra effect. And to prove it was legit, they'd hire guards, and get this, the guards were usually butchers to make sure he wasn't sneaking any food. It all built up to this huge public ceremony on day 40. But here's the thing. While the crowds were seeing this incredible, thrilling show, the artist himself, he was feeling something totally different. A huge misunderstanding was basically building a wall between him and his audience. And this, right here, is the core mystery of the story. The audience is hooked, his manager's making bank, but the artist, at the absolute height of his fame, is completely miserable. So why? What was he seeing that nobody else was? Okay, it all came down to this 40-day limit. For his manager, the impresario, it was just business. Simple. He figured the public's attention span maxed out at 40 days. But for the artist, oh, it was an insult. It was a betrayal of his art. He knew he could go on for way longer, and they were forcing him to stop right before he could create his true masterpiece. And here it is. This is the artist's big secret, the thing that made him feel so alone. This incredible feat that everyone was freaking out about was actually easy for him. The world saw this martyr, this guy sacrificing everything for his art. But he knew it wasn't a sacrifice at all, which made all their praise feel, well, it felt like a total fraud. Well, you know how it goes. Public taste is a fickle thing. The world that built him up inevitably got bored and moved on. And the artist's fall from main attraction to a forgotten nobody, it was fast and it was brutal. I mean, the fall was steep. He went from being the talk of the town to dragging his cage all over Europe, just chasing a shadow of that old fame. And then he hits rock bottom. He gets a gig at a circus. Not as a star, but as a minor attraction tucked away near the animal pens. At the circus, he wasn't just forgotten. He was completely irrelevant. He wasn't even really an attraction anymore. His cage was just a small obstacle, something people had to step around to get to the real show, the animals. And here's the really cruel, ironic twist. The artist finally gets the one thing he always wanted: total freedom. The 40-day limit is gone. He can fast for as long as he wants. But it's this incredibly hollow victory because nobody's watching. Nobody's counting the days. He's performing his greatest masterpiece ever in complete and total obscurity. So, years go by. The artist is just wasting away in his cage, totally forgotten, until one day a circus supervisor happens to notice him. And this little moment leads to the story's climax, a final conversation that uncovers the deepest, weirdest truth of his entire life. You hear that question? It's so casual, so administrative. The supervisor has no clue he's just stumbled upon a man who has achieved this world record feat right under his nose. The artist is so forgotten he's become just another piece of trash to be cleaned up. With pretty much his last breaths, the artist confesses what he wanted his whole life. It was never about the fame, not really. It was about someone, anyone, genuinely admiring the purity of his dedication, the art of the fast itself. But then he just flips the script. In this baffling final turn, he rejects the very thing he just asked for. The supervisor is like, well, of course we admire it, and the artist immediately shuts him down. No, you shouldn't. And there it is, the ultimate Kafka punchline. His entire life's work, This thing people saw as incredible artistic discipline wasn't a choice. It wasn't about willpower. It was just a simple, absurd fact. He never found any food he liked. If he had, he would have stuffed his face just like everyone else. His art wasn't an act of creation. It was just what he was stuck with. The artist dies, but the story isn't over. Not quite. Kafka gives us this one last powerful image, contrasting the artist's whole existence with what immediately takes his place in that very same cage. I mean, his end couldn't be more unceremonious. No grave, no memorial. He's disposable. They literally just sweep him out and bury him with the dirty straw from his cage. His life and his art are treated like actual garbage. So, what replaces this tormented artist? Not another one. Instead, they put a young panther in the cage, a creature that is just pure, raw, unapologetic life. Think about that contrast. The artist was all about what he denied himself, right? He starved for an admiration he couldn't even accept. The panther, on the other hand, it just is. It doesn't want for anything. Its joy for living is so powerful, it practically leaps out of the cage. And it captivates everyone without even trying, just by being this magnificent living thing. And that kind of leaves us with this big, lingering question, doesn't it? It feels like Kafka is asking us, the audience, if we'll always pick the vibrant, easy spectacle of life over the difficult, complicated discipline of art. And what happens to the artist who can't, or just won't, give us that simple, easy satisfaction? It's a question that really sticks with you long after you've left that little circus cage behind.